for basic teenage pregnancy rate. We also looked at contraceptive prevalence rate among the districts. We looked at perinatal mortality rates, under 5 mortality rates, and decisions have been made in terms of ranking, in terms of resource allocation. My country, Uganda, used ranging from reproductive. We were in position to come up with specific intervention that could save life more, like goal-oriented antenatal care, family planning interventions, emergency obstetric care, and other resource mapping. We use the data to map resources, both in government and donor, so that we are in position to bring all the resources together and the debt do, and how can we bring these resources together so that we can utilize it effectively and efficiently towards those gaps. The resource gaps cut across everywhere. And of course, the second challenge we have is the contribution of the donors, which include resource mapping. It's not flexible. This others funding is not aligned to the government budget cycle, especially for my government. And for that matter, commitments cannot be guaranteed beyond each year. And finally, we lack standardized tools for all the contributions to track investments. So as a country, we have really experienced the use of data that has yielded mobilization, resource allocation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So we will move on to the next panel now. May I call the panelists to come to the podium. It's about acting in partnership. And we have Dr. Ajay Khera, Deputy Commissioner, thank you so much, of Child Health Program, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, to sector private. My pronunciation in French, I'm still learning on that skill. The General Secretary of from Senegal, of the UN Secretary. She has sent her sincere apologies for missing this panel. And subnational partnerships are critical. Partnerships provide the platforms for countries, both donor and come around a table with equal voice and talk about the importance of achieving collective goals. So those partnerships provide a convening role, which basically brings transformational change. As you know, the idea of partnership, partnerships at country and world has made. Forward, both old and new partnerships will be excellent panel. Partnerships, particularly at the community level, at subnational level, will be really critical to achieve sustainable results. The results the world has achieved so far as inspirational and truly the risk of going backwards, the risk of so we really need community level, country level discussions to have a real look at how we can mobilize sustainable finance. My area of expertise now, malaria, where EcoBank and Africa for Africans initiative is trying to mobilize the private sector to make sure that sustainable financing is made available to finance malaria commodities and interventions in most countries. So it's really important to talk about the biggest challenge, universal health coverage, which by 2030, financing is going to be critical. So how can we use financing partnerships to address the issue of financing is something with session innovated everywhere. So, but at the same time, to create an environment where innovation is fostered as well. So, I think there are creating these kind of environments. In one of the documents that have been shared, it says we ensure scaling up of all core interventions for maternal, newborn, and child health. You know, the known core interventions. We would have a vertical intervention posed to the panel. So in the panel, I would Moussa Fall, Imam from Senegal. Mr. Fall is an Imam principal of the Mosque of Sacré-Cœur in Dakar. After studying at the University of Dakar, authentic Islamic argument planning, given that Senegal has had considerable of religious leaders. The second speaker would be Phyllis. Phyllis is a good friend, Vice President Frontline Delivery Office of the UNSG, and she previously worked in the strategy team at the Global Fund to fight AIDS and business and international health policy and health. Is a postgraduate qualification in public health with more than 25 years of experience. And a WHO program with Rural Health Clinic. He is currently president of the Association of Rural Physicians of Mali and Secretary General of the Private Sector Alliance. So these are the panelists we have. As you can see, they have quite long answers as well, so they would bring in. I will ask, my first question to what are the critical success factors that contribute to the flow?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bon, le gouvernement, le Sénégal a mené quelques enquêtes des besoins non satisfaits très élevés, un taux de 32%. Il y avait aussi là des éléments de réponse parce qu'il y avait des interprétations erronées autour de l'acceptation. Les formations se sont engagées à être nos relais à l'action importante. Par rapport à tout cela, on a vu que c'était simplement une conspiration occidentale similaire à ce que l'on appelle l'infanticide. Donc pour nous, en tant que musulmans, raison pour laquelle les imams qui au début étaient réticents ont compris que cette version sont engagés à dire aux gens que l'utilisation, ça améliore la santé de la mère.
We have also addressed in addition to support the efforts of the government.
Fascinating experience that be on the way of women take.
Well, case mortality, strong partnerships of all players. Now choose another topic where a lot of recent modeling from Johns Hopkins has shown up interventions at the community level. I personally Gates, USAID, Gavi and many others to strengthen and support management leadership in investment cases, to bring in partners right from the beginning and co-create. Very skills and assets are important, a lot with celebrities. Another critical element we've learned is to AMP Health partnership locally and see just to learn about each other. EcoBank will spend as a critical success factor for partnerships. I assume, or I want to say, also encouraged by my
things to do in setting up partnerships, to talk about leadership, which is at all levels, both national, subnational as well. Dr. Ajay, you have the...
Today we are talking about partnership preventable maternal and child deaths. Global strategy for women, children and adolescents. And if we try to, understand, talk about, a lot of investment has to happen and just complete responsibility. And I think the partnership, and to my understanding, even if you look at the different elements of global strategy, one of the important strategic approach is the partnership. First, a polio program is a great example of success, where partnerships have, let's use the simple common principles of management and try to create some kind of partnership model. And I think we were quite successful in taking that model of partnership in those 209 districts with the help of development, strategize our actions. We said, let's look at those. The stepwise approach was, step one was, what we did was we carried out a gap analysis converted them into some kind of we develop a district plan in terms of making a change. I do not have programmatic, so-called the modern contraceptive rates. So, all partnerships, they really make a difference. So, engage with the so-called the academy, like, Indian Academy of Pediatrics, or, Pradhan Mantri, where all the pregnant women are sector in a big way. So I think these are the three clear examples. And in nutshell, to my understanding, it's very difficult to practice. So maybe we continue to theoretically say.
Merci, Monsieur le modérateur. L'organisation de la référence et de succès, c'est la renoncer au luxe de la grande ville et apporter leur savoir-faire de l'État.
We will probably reverse the order and start from Dr. Nimaga. What are the untapped opportunities?
Une opportunité, c'est la mise en place d'une cellule partenariat public-privé.
Particularly in the Indian context, is the engagement of the private sector.
Aspen management as an important area to focus on is the Aspen Management Partnership for Health, which is again a great opportunity, health extension work assistance in costings, ROI analysis, investment, but the Financing Alliance for Health is one of them, so please reach out. And the fourth I'll say is that I think it's so important that all partners, technical partners, funders get behind those governments that show strong leadership behind the scale-up of and delivery systems. There are obviously many that do that, but the countries I'm involved at.
Very good, thank you. Imam Fall, you have the last one.
To achievements. So the very fact that activities where I talk about development issues, so civil society organization. So I think the civil society allow the government to achieve its.
Yes, you have the floor.
Un commentaire très rapide, c'est dire que il est important que nous nous rappelions que nous nous sommes véritablement engagés, jamais atteindre ça dans les délais que nous ne nous accompagnent pas. Je ne parlerai même pas du secteur privé sans pays. Je pense qu'à l'adresse de nous-mêmes, je pense qu'en négociant, on peut trouver quelque chose de...
Into consideration their support.
Do have capacity, both in the
planning, to also delivery. We also question again is what the imam in Senate services. Thank you.
Regarding the use of family planning, for example, Senegals are very much recognized within the community. Where about family planning to receive patients, and it's our duty as a believer, as a Muslim.
Yes, Dr. Yuka.
Regarding yes, with the support of an NGO.
One of the questions which is about South-South and so on, where everyone has been used and provides that South-South partner to can collectively improve. And as we rightly said, there are lots of wisdoms and ideas which can play that role of empowering community services. So as you have heard, from the panelists, particularly ownership, you need innovations to fail. And in some settings, government partnerships with different actors. We have to also have a clear...
Excellent, because that is using your... O, no, the challenge... O, T, C. The last challenge, how about we try it through our hips? Now that we have reached to the closing ceremony of King, they have stated their commitment, and they spent 3 hours from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock this morning in the afternoon to deliberate on through the commitments of the countries, different international organizations, and our nations. As a Deputy Secretary General, as we know her now, it's always pleasure. Is going to be reading. Commitment is bold, This commitment is made in front of the public, and we have kindly prepared a seat for all of you here for the heads of delegations. So to make best out of the time and to lift onto these two levels of podium. Make sure. So the Addis morning and afternoon conversation of the call summit public.
Child of countries, delegation of 26 countries, the commitment made in adopting all preventable maternal women and children not only survive, but we fully recognize that significant public and private sectors, including for expanding domestic resources for health, to using appropriate tools and technologies, national surveys, to use this information to bring our resources to the greatest of and supported by a robust primary health care system. We therefore commit to strengthening the community level of our health systems as here with us in Addis Ababa, including international organizations, financing partners address the child financing facility in support of every woman, every child. We'll continue to hold ourselves accountable and they not only serve. I thank you.
Professor Ifru Burhan for making and on the details of the declaration, commented each and every sentence, and I think it is time for us to show to the public, I presume the audience. Perhaps if we say this, we need a true applause from all of you. It's unlikely that you will see. Go ahead now for the video. We have the
friends and colleagues at the Center for System and Societies at Large. We have already made impressive clinics that delivered over 40,000 pregnancy care to mothers and their babies.
I next invite
perspective of civil society, including PATH, co-hosted an all-day meeting of civil society and faith-based organizations to the global strategy for women's, children's, specifically national and global level to prevent and child survival. These contributions log. We must also look at new ways to bring innovation to the table, growing our exchange of knowledge and best practices. On equity, one of the to reach populations is not just about geography, all of these barriers. When equity is not being achieved or properly addressed, tax incentives, or for great.
I thank you so much, Mr. Neeraj Jain, the country director of India, PAS in India. He has cemented the commitment of civil society the way of and mission director, National Health Mission and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of India, to give us his closing remarks in these events of the.
First of all, our deep session of the reflected in the Addis with the acting on the call movement. And collaboration, wide partnerships for acting on the call summit. It has been able to accelerate the global efforts, it survives and thrives.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Before going to the last talk, which is vote of thanks, as you might imagine, their level best and have had.
This is the story of my life, and it begins the same as it. The day you were born is the most dangerous day of your life, and my mother knew that. So with help, I entered this world safe, large and loud and frightening, and we will keep you safe. Dream big, my love, and watch her as she cared for me, nourished me, and protected me. And as my hands learned to hold, I began to see her promise take shape. and form a young understanding of this world. We cannot survive without each other. Then I began so that I could just be a kid and have the space to find discipline. And as I made my own path, with the support of my family and community, I grew to be independent in health and in love. I will make my own a promise that will take many hearts and hands to fulfill. A promise of health,
Yes, we all can help. We all can. The Secretariat and who actually took over our entire head, we thank you them so much. Please, a round of applause for them as well. And working on the details of your submissions as well. We thank you in making sure whatever we say inside this room actually reaches to the outside world and make the impression we want. And our all media colleagues who have been helping us in the videography and photography as well. Would you please rise up? You be likes, shares, and comments have been sent. Their media who has made with all the videos, your presentations, telling you to go out, serving the lunch and the tea breaks and etc. At least we'll see you. One who has taken part in here, including the entire the truths can only come from village health workers, from the public to the private in here. So I thank to all of you, and I look forward to hearing about your great progress.